hosts, and now we're joined by the one and only Phil Simms. And, of course, the Simms Spotlight is presented by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly. Phil, you have John Schmeelk and Paul Dottino here in East Rutherford. I think we had our phone numbers crossed because we're no longer doing this show from my basement, and we're back in the facility, but I think we're good to go now. Phil, how are you?
Well, I'm doing well. Good to talk to John, to Paul. Good to talk to you guys. And, I was sitting on the line going, was it something I said? What did I do? Because, what comes out of my mouth always gets me in trouble, but it's okay. I enjoyed listening to the rhythms of the music, the nice soft music y'all had playing in my ear. But, yeah, it's good to be with you guys. And it seems like the Giants played like 4 weeks ago. So it's amazing because there's so many games in between watching all the NFL games, and I swear I just go, okay, let me get my head back into that game down in Washington and try to remember a lot of things. I said, oh, good. The good thing is I wrote a few notes down. That helped. So.
Well, Phil, let's start right here because we've heard from players, but specifically we've heard from the head coach, Joe Judge, as well as the coordinators, more specifically Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, about how teams through the first 4 weeks of the season are really trying to find their sea legs. They're trying to find out who they are, what their identity is. And in fact, Joe Judge even said yesterday that it takes 4 games to figure out what you really have in terms of trends, what needs to be fixed, what's exposed. How do you generally look at the play around the NFL during these first couple of weeks? Because I have a feeling there are a lot of head coaches who feel the same way.
Oh, yeah. Even some teams that are 2-0 are shaking their head. And, of course, a lot of teams that are 0-2. Just to take one, the Indianapolis Colts, they kind of probably, look at them and goes, how are we 0-2 when we should be 2-0? Minnesota Vikings. But that is it's really true about trying to find who you are. And every team is doing that by and large. Some have, come out of the gates on fire and got it going. But you work all off season, you come up with new plays, some new things we're going to do and all this and everything. Then you use them in training camp. Then the season starts, you go, okay, all that work, all that time, it's not who we are. And why is it? Every year is different. You have different people, a few different coaches, and you just got to find out what works for you. I thought the Giants in Week 2 did make strides in that department, and so that statement is not just coach speak or anything like that. It's real, and I did it every year. We got all these new passes we're going to put in, Phil, and we'd do them in training camp, and they would work okay in preseason. And then we never used them during the season. We went back to the so it's the first 4 weeks. It's fast. It's unpredictable in the NFL. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's emotional, and you try to get it settled down, and you try to find out way to win games while you're trying to figure out who you really are.
Phil, so what do you think about the Giants' offense so far the first 2 weeks, the progress Daniel Jones has made, and just in general how they're moving the ball? Because I think you got to be pretty happy almost getting to 30 points against what's a pretty good Washington defense in Week 2.
Yes, I wrote down a couple things, and the first thing I put at the top of my page, a couple things, not just one. One, when I watched the game, over, Saquon Barkley was better than he was the first game, which has to be, make people feel better, Giant fans, the Giant organization. And I watched and I said, oh, wow, TV kind of maybe, muddled my judgment a little bit, but I thought it was better. So that's got to be something. Now, 10 days later, he gets to play again, and I would think and hope that he's going to be better, because I still believe he's such a huge key to the Giants team on both sides of the ball. And the other thing I wrote down is you can't put the football in the hands of Daniel Jones enough. And, the learning curve is over. He's ready to go. I thought he was really, really good against the Washington football team. He made, I have all my own stats. I don't look at numbers a lot, but I wrote down I can't remember if it was, I'll tell you exactly. I wrote down 6 big-time throws in the game that he made, under pressure, into tight coverage, whatever you want to say, that were top-level play by him. I thought he played almost a flawless game, and that has to make Giant. And, Giant fans, I got mad last week. I was on a radio show. Everybody quit calling in and telling me about Daniel Jones. He's not the problem, period. He wasn't a problem against the Denver Broncos, and he sure as the heck wasn't the problem with the Washington football team. So he's probably, right now, the best player on the football team. And so we got to let that rest, and let's just move on and try to figure out some other things that can help the team get better.
Phil, I'm going to do a quick follow-up on your Barkley point. When you say he looked better in week 2, do you mean just movement better, looking healthier, or is it more reading his blockers, being more decisive, finding the right hole? Where did you specifically see him look better in week 2 versus week 1?
All the above. You know, a little more explosion. We saw it on that one run. I saw it on a couple inside runs. A little more trust in his fixed knee, whatever you want to say, and just, confidence. I could see it, and I watched it. I went, oh, boy. That's why I love watching things over, because usually my first impressions when watching a game, especially on TV, and then really watching it, it's amazing. TV lies, and we get caught in narratives, and I keep waiting. I want to see the guy that we saw that just was the talk of the NFL. And, of course, that was stupid of me to think that. And but it's coming. I definitely could see it, and it has to make everybody have a little more faith in the team. It has to make the whole team feel better, because the players see it too. And I'm sure the practice, it just keeps getting a little better in practice every day, and hopefully we'll see it against Atlanta this week.
Phil, it always starts with the offensive line, and I think to many people's surprise, the pass protection has been better than the run blocking, which we all know offensive linemen will tell you run blocking's easier. That's what they enjoy to do. But the pass pro, I think, has been functional, and especially considering that they've had to change some guys out. You had the knee surgery yesterday. Now they're saying he's probably out for the year. Nick Gates broke his leg, so he's out for the season. I mean, this is a difficult spot, but the pass pro has been surprisingly functional.
Yes, it has. And I thought overall against the Washington defensive line, they did a good job. The problem with the Washington defensive line is this. There's no depth there. So how many plays can a defensive lineman really dig in there and make it work? How many times can you rush the passer? So, yeah, I thought the Giants did a good job of adjusting in that game. And, let's go down to this. Always when I look at playoff teams, I probably said this to you guys a couple times last year, but when you look at the teams that you really go, wow, you got to worry about them, the first thing you look at, they usually have good offensive lines. Are there a few examples where it's not? Yeah, there's a couple. I don't look at Kansas City and go, wow, they got one of the top 5 or 6 or 10 offensive lines in the NFL, but they have some circumstances that you got to judge them differently, and it's called Mahomes and Hill and Travis Kelce and so on, and Randy Reed. But, the offensive line is always, to me, the number one issue on every team. Show me a team that's offensive line that struggles, and I'll show you a team that's probably not going to make the playoffs.
Phil, you mentioned, and I think it's ironic, heading into the year, all the concern was about this Giants offense and whether or not they would score enough points. But through the first 2 weeks, I think the larger question is, can this defense get off the field and keep teams out of the end zone? So what have you seen from the Giants defense in these first 2 weeks, and what do they need to do better to just, frankly, give up fewer points?
Well, listen, one is, the quarterback. You got to get there. The new trend in the NFL, and every team is doing it. It's, I basically every team. I'm sure there's a couple that I've studied and where I'd say differently, but everybody likes this, what I call the shell defense, and it's played many different ways. And what they're basically saying, we're going to give you some short throws, but we're not going to give you anything down the field. At least that's the thought process, but there's ways they're all exposing that too. So when you're going to do that, in which the Giants do play it, and they probably didn't play it as much as I thought against Washington when I was watching the game on TV. I'll say this, when they did play man-to-man, there was nothing there that would go, oh, we can't do that anymore. I think they can, and I thought they actually did pretty well against it. But in today's league, if you're going to play that defense, you got to get to the quarterback somewhat quicker, because the throwers and catchers, especially the catchers, and the offenses and the play design, they're so good, they'll just pick you apart. Oh, you want to give me 7? We'll take it, baby. and it's this, and it just keeps rolling. And then all of a sudden, and like I said, it's played so much, everybody is finding the holes in these coverages and still getting the football down the field. So if the Giants are going to play that, then the pass rush has got to pick it up, that's for sure, to help protect the backside of the defense.
Last week, Phil, the Buccaneers sent a lot of five-man pressures against Matt Ryan, who I think over the years, 10 consecutive 4,000-yard passing seasons, tremendous completion percentage, doesn't throw a lot of picks. I think he's ageless. He looks just as good to me now as he ever did. If you don't get into his lane, Tampa had 2 deflections for picks the other day.
Right.
If you don't get into his windshield, it's a problem.
Well, look, you said a lot of nice things about Matt Ryan, and surely you are right. The offense is different, a little more conservative. It truly is. They want to be the Tennessee Titans, but you know what? They got to get an offensive line that matches that, and then good luck on trying to find Derrick Henry. But Matt Ryan is. I love hearing all the commentators this week. Oh, he's old. It's a they should have got a quarterback. Oh, come on, everybody shut up. Talk about something besides that quarterback. And, but he's resourceful. Of course, he's smart. He knows how to get rid of the football quick, even against a tremendous pass rush. He finds the right guy. And he moves around a lot better than everybody gives him credit for. He's not Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or whatever, but he still moves around well in the pocket, gets outside the pocket, and makes a lot of plays that way. So there's a reason he's put up all those numbers all the years. It's not because he's just loaded with talent and the offense is made for the quarterback to have tremendous success and all these things. He has definitely had his part in it. And that's right. A couple years ago, well, it's starting to add up, he was the MVP of the NFL, and they're trying to kind of go back to that type of offense, but the talent is not there in Atlanta right now to do what they were doing years ago.
Yeah, Phil, you're right. I think you watch them, and you're not seeing 3 wide a lot. You're not seeing 4 wide a lot. They're in a lot of 21, 22, 12. That accounts for, I think, more than 60% of their snaps. And I think I can actually give you the percentages here because, in the NFL now, everyone's playing 11 personnel, right? For the Falcons this year, they've been in 11. This is being tracked by Pro Football Focus, just 36% of the time. But they're in 12, 21, or 22, 54% of the time. So that's a lot of heavy personnel. And I think the 2 guys that kind of allows them to play that way that are interesting are Kyle Pitts, the rookie, who they haven't really unlocked yet and asked them to do a lot of different things, but they've lined them up in a lot of different places. And then Cordero Patterson, who they use as a running back, as a slot guy, as a guy out wide, as a wide receiver. Can you just talk about how they use those 2 guys and what the Giants need to do to defend them as their 2 primary weapons in the offense?
Well, everything you said plays into the Giant defense. When the first thing, when I look at the Giant defense, I go, up front, they're big.
Yeah.
So they should be able to stand in there and slug it out with the Atlanta Falcons. And you hope they continue this trend in what they're doing. But, when I look at their offensive line and that, I just don't see that overpowering front. And 2, until they start running the ball and doing all that, all the passes to Kyle Pitts, that's where they'll start to come around. There's no doubt about it. Arthur Smith he wants to recreate what was going on down in Tennessee. But, boy, that's a tall task to ask when you look at a football team that really had turned in, let's just throw it, and throw it every down almost is what they have been for the last few years, because that's what Matt Ryan wants. And so it's a big changeover, and it's such a big change. That's going to take a while to really get, I guess, efficient, and really you're trying to change the mindset. Let's be run and gun, and now we're going to be smash it tough and all those things. That's really tough. And I think this is a very good matchup for the Giants. And keep Matt Jones in the pocket, and I think the Giants should beat the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, Phil, I got one fan question, then Paul has a question about Eli going into the Ring of Honor. So first, a fan question. This one from one of our regulars, our good friend Charlie. He wants to know if you were the offensive coordinator, Phil, because a lot of the knives are out for Jason Garrett this year. I don't quite know why, but they are. If you were the Giants' offensive coordinator, how would you use Daniel Jones? What do you consider to be his strengths?
Well, his strengths are, there are many things. as I would tell fans out there, until you've been around Daniel Jones, you can't believe how big he is. And now we've seen it many times now, the fact that he can really run and he can throw under pressure. Those are all great traits for an NFL quarterback to have. But I think I answered the question already. I want to see more of these runs with the quarterback. And people go, oh, that's dangerous. No, let me tell you, here are the facts.
Phil,
It's more dangerous.
Phil, real
What's
quickly,
that?
Paul Dottino's dying in his chair right now. Just FYI, I got to let you know. He does not like Daniel Jones running. He's so red, I can't even tell you. It's hilarious.
Phil, you're killing me. You're killing me, Phil.
Well, you know what? You're making my day because I love to get Paul upset.
Me too. That's great.
Paul, listen to me. Here we go. When the quarterback is running the ball, he determines what hits he wants to take. He makes those judgments himself. But when you're in the pocket, it comes out of nowhere, and sometimes no matter what you do, you can't defend yourself because of the situation you're in. And those are the facts.
Wow.
Have you seen – and that's it. When Daniel Jones is running the football, he sees somebody coming. He goes, I'm not going to take that hit. I'm going down.
Yeah, but he doesn't
Or every
slide
once in a
enough,
while-
Phil. He hasn't learned how to slide yet, and that's my problem.
Well, he's doing all. Hey, then you slide, you dive head first, whatever. Or when you see the hit coming, Paul, you protect yourself. You kind of put your hands, and then you go down in a spot where they can't hurt you. And I'm not going to compare it to Lamar Jackson, but everybody always says that about him. And I go, wait, be quiet. He's determining what hits he wants to take. And when he sees them, he either knows to protect himself or kind of get in the position, which he does every once in a while, which I would not like as a coach. He will try to catch you off guard and deliver the blow to you. So I don't ever remember, not that I scrambled, but I did a lot my first couple years.
You did.
I don't remember ever getting hit on a run where I go, oh, boy, I better get – no. I never got hurt running the football.
Okay.
And I did run a lot those first couple years.
Oh, I know you did.
But I did get hurt standing in that pocket quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
You just made my day, Phil.
All right. Well,
You made
Phil,
my
I'm
day.
going to digest this, and because it's coming
Hey,
from you,
Paul.
I take it for real.
Well, you just got to listen. Facts are facts. And, listen,
are
I've had
facts.
this argument with coaches, and the coaches, after I get off the phone, I just go, okay, you just handed my rear end to me, and I believe you, and it makes sense, and it's right because I've watched it, and I see it in every game with almost every quarterback. When they're running, they're not taking unnecessary hits. They can protect themselves, and they determine what they want to do. And if they try to do too much and make a move when they shouldn't because the whole cavalry's chasing you, then look out. But, Paul, here's what you do. Get you some Bigelow green tea, drink it, settle your, that blood pressure of yours down, and just go, okay, it's okay to admit you're wrong sometimes.
You got me, Phil.
And-
You got me.
Oh, you're yeah, but I know. I'm gonna get off the radio and go, yeah, you don't feel
No. You got me. I'm going to get the honey lemon Bigelow, though. I like that one very much. But
What's that you said? I missed you.
the honey lemon Bigelow tea. I love that stuff.
Well, lemon ginger with probiotics, that's the way to go.
There you
It tastes
go.
great. And if you're like me and you're older, you always have an upset stomach because you're yelling at fans and people that interview me and stuff like that. So it works well to settle my stomach down. Oh, well, it's great.
I'm Italian, Phil. My stomach is never settled. All right, listen. I got one final question, two-parter for you before you go, because we have to
Sure.
ask you, if somebody had just landed on Earth and never seen Eli Manning play before, what would your thumbnail sketch be to tell them about what Eli Manning was and why he deserves to be in the Giants' Ring of Honor? And the second part to that question is, what did it mean to you to be in the Ring of Honor, and what would you tell Eli about the pride and what the significance is of joining those great names on the wall?
Well, of course, it's an understatement to say he deserves to be in the Ring of Honor, and he one day will, of course, be in the Hall of Fame. And what would I tell people out there? Look, to say he was Mr. Steady is an understatement. I mean, my gosh, it was never up or down, and that was the opposite of me. I was all over the place, and not emotional, but just I don't know. Football is such a struggle, but he seemed to handle that so great. And the other thing is too, the fact that he just never missed a game or really never missed plays or anything like that in the game is, to this day, it's astounding to me. And even in this day and age, I know he got to play about half of his career in both, where all of a sudden they said, hey, these quarterbacks, they're a pretty big deal in the NFL. Let's start protecting them more and more. But, good for Eli. It's a great honor. And I was always told this when I was with the Giants, when it's over, they'll like you even more. And all of a sudden, I've turned into a guy that didn't throw a lot of interceptions and lose games, and it really is true. Parcells used to tell me, don't worry, Sims, when it's over, they'll appreciate you. And I go, yeah, Bill, who cares about, 10 years from now? I'm talking about now. But it is all true. And the fact that he played his whole career with the Giants is, I think, he's going to look back on that and just go, what a great deal that was, especially in this day and age.
Phil, this was a real pleasure. Great to have you back with us this year. You'll be with us every other week from now to the end of the year. Great stuff. Thank you so much, and I promise you next week we'll have that technical issue squared away, so we don't have to deal with that again.
That's okay.
Right?
Listen. I just feel really good right now, extremely satisfied, like after eating a good meal my wife cooked, because I got Paul upset. It's just awesome.
It is, and I'm gonna go enjoy my Bigelow tea, grab a mug and tea proudly. Phil, hope you have even better rest of the day.
Be well, Phil. Thanks.
Y'all have a great day, Paul. John, good to talk to you.
Thank you, Phil. That's Phil Sims. Again, the Sims Spotlight brought to you by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly.